Brilliant. Thanks everyone for turning up for the planning committee today. There's one item on the agenda to go through, but we will start with the agenda number one. It's appointment of vice chair. The nominations for vice chair, I'd like to nominate Mike Sands. Seconded. Any other nominations? Anyone? No, thank you, Mike. You're elected. Thank you. 2, apologies for absence. I understand we've got apologies from Viv and Vaughan Thomas.
Yeah.
And no one's here as a substitute. Declarations of interest, anyone?
Chair,
yes.
Other on this item that we've got coming up, my children attending Inspiration School.
Okay, thank you.
But not on the premises at
Excellent. So, minutes of last meeting on the 13th of April. Do we agree they're a correct record, but also we're here?
Yep.
Thank you. And on the 27th of April, people are here for that as well. Thank you. And we now move on to planning application. As I said, it's just the one. Natasha, is it Natasha? Naya. Brilliant. If you can take us through the planning report. Thank you.
Okay. Today's application is for 2 applications. There's a full application and a listed building consent application for 30 Bethel Street. The proposal is for installing 2 aircon units at 30 Bethel Street, and the units would be installed at the roof level. But 30 Bethel Street is currently used as a 6th form college. The site is grade 2 listed and it's within the city centre conservation area. The site was constructed roughly around 1930s, and within the site there are various different buildings which vary in scale, and also some elements of the buildings in the site are more modern. And generally speaking, the surrounding area varies in build form, and some of the notable surrounding properties include City Hall, which is this one here, as well as there's the police station, which is grade 2 listed, which is here. And to the north of the site, there is also residential properties at Old Valley Market, which borders the site here. Here is the residential properties at Old Valley Market. This is grade 2 listed police station, and here we've got City Hall, and here we've got Battle Street, which is south of the site, and Ingham Street as well along here. So during the consideration process, there were 2 objections relating to this application. The objections were from the residences at Old Valley Market, so here, and in the objections they raised concerns to do with the noise from the aircon units, as well as concerns to do with pollution. So, the proposal is for 2 aircon units, which would be on the north building of the site, and the 2 units are here. And on the site, there's already existing equipment, all of these, which is some including air handling units. This is the proposed roof plan without the air units at the moment, without the air conditioning units. Here is an elevation, so the existing elevation, and you can just about roughly see the air handling units and some of the existing equipment on the roof. And with the proposed aircon units, with the 2 units here, they are slightly bigger than some of the existing equipment on the roof, and they would have a bit more visibility because they're slightly larger scale. This is a photograph taken from standing by the police station, looking towards the building towards the north. And here you can just about roughly make out some of the existing equipment, but for the most part it is hidden. And the proposed aircon units would be positioned probably roughly around just above here in this window, and the units are roughly 0.6 meters away from the edge of the roof here, and it will be roughly 7 meters away from the residential properties at Old Barley Market. The units would be the biggest thing, the biggest item on the roof, so they would have a bit more visibility compared to what you can currently see here in this image. But then the visibility is not considered to result in significant harm, because it's not going to be affecting Bethel Street, which is to the south, where the main principal elevation is, and also the immediate surrounding little properties are not going to be significantly affected by having additional 2 aircon units here. Alterations that have happened at the property, and just about make out there's 2 aircon units at the moment which have already been installed at the site, and the proposed aircon units would be the same as some of the existing units on the site. The units themselves would not be significantly visible. The visibility would only be from Ingham Street, and there would be no impact on Bethel Street, which is the principal elevation, and also because of the reduced visibility to Bethel Street, it's not considered that there would be a significant impact on the wider area in terms of the character of the conservation area, as well as not necessarily having a big impact on the listed buildings that are surrounding, particularly City Hall and the police station. Also, one other key thing to consider with this application would be the servicing of the units. The property itself is grade 2 listed, and it is considered that the servicing of the proposed aircon units has the potential to certainly have some impact on some of the historical features of the building and the historic interest. So here is just the current existing plan of the entire school, and the proposed site is on this building here, with the aircon units being here, and the servicing of the aircon units could potentially impact the fabric of the listed building. So, but we don't think there will be much of a big impact, considering the fact that the property in itself over the years has been modified internally quite a lot. There's been quite a few renovations, so it's fairly modern inside. But to ensure that there would not be any significant impact on any of the historical features which are of interest, we have recommended for an additional condition, asking the applicant to submit some servicing plan details for us to consider and assess, to make sure that the cabling and wiring connecting to the aircon units would not be affecting any of the historical interest on the site. And also, in regards to noise, like I said, the units themselves are located more towards the courtyard of the site. This is the courtyard. Here are the residential properties, and the units are 0.6 meters away from the edge of this elevation, and the distance between the residential properties and the units is roughly 7.7 meters. And in the noise assessment results, the recommendation was for the units to be located at least 6 meters away from the residential units to minimize the noise impact, and they have placed them at 7.7 meters, and it is considered that this distance is reasonable and far away enough from the residences not to cause them any noise. And also the actual units themselves, the noise level that they would be having is roughly 2 decibels less than the existing background noise. So the residents would not necessarily be experiencing much difference in terms of the noise that they're currently experiencing. And also further to mitigate the noise, we have also recommended for 2 conditions to be added, and one of them is to have the aircon units mounted on anti-vibration mountings, which helps to reduce the amount of noise, and also for limiting the hours of operation. So the units will only are only used during summertime, and also they will only be allowed to operate between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. So during the day, normal school hours, which is also going to reduce the impact on the neighbouring properties, and also having limited operating hours it helps with reducing the impact of the cumulative impact of the aircon units. And so overall, based on assessment, we consider that the units themselves have got less than substantial harm on the heritage interest of the area, and also in terms of the impact of noise on the nearby residential properties. So it's considered to be acceptable. We would approve the application subject to the standard conditions as well as the additional conditions for submitting the service route plans as well as installing the units on anti-vibration mountings and making sure they're operating within the hours of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions? Councillor Sains?
Thank you, Chair. We approved the installation of some other air conditioning units on this building somewhere not so long ago. Have there been any subsequent complaints of noise by residents from those? And if there are, is there the potential, if there are complaints in the future, to have sound baffles installed retrospectively?
I'm not aware of any noise complaints at Norwich and we have consulted with Environmental Protection. They would usually draw our attention. They're the people who deal with such noise complaints. They would draw our attention to any such complaints if there had been any. If there were a statutory nuisance in regards to the amount of noise that was being created on the site, Environmental Protection officers would have the ability to step in and take action from protecting the immunity of those neighbours. But from the evidence that we've got before us, it's very unlikely that would happen.
Great. Councillor Chapman?
I just wanted clarity. So the conditions which you've mentioned with the anti-vibration and the time limitations, they're in. We don't need to vote on those are going through.
They're good.
Yeah, okay. That's all. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Price?
Sorry, Chair, can I just point out, and there's an additional condition recommended by the officers to be added to these, isn't it? About the submission of the service plan?
Yes, so obviously servicing details to be submitted as well.
So
as
that would be...
Yeah,
that would be added onto the conditions.
All of that is within the recommendation, within the reports. That's what we would be voting on.
yeah. Councillor Price?
Thank you, Chair. Excuse the ignorance of the question, I'm new to the committee. We've got an in-area commitment as well as a council commitment to reach carbon net zero and to work with partners to reach carbon net zero. We're here today to approve energy-rich air conditioning system. Can you explain how we can go ahead and grant such a thing when clearly it's going to put more carbon, cost on that square footage of the city centre, and what conditions we can place to help offset that additional energy consumption?
So we're going to come back to the framework within which we need to make decisions. The framework within which we need to make decisions includes our policies. We don't have policies which restrict the use of air conditioning units or any such conditions. The only conditions we have relating to energy use relate to new developments and the need to provide some renewable energy on site. So we wouldn't have a basis to refuse the application or to add a condition relating to such things in this instance.
Even though it's a corporate plan commitment to get.
Because it's
in
not,
the area
it's not in
covered.
planning policy.
Councillor Stooley.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah. So just relating to the hours of restriction, it doesn't specify days, but you said it was normal school opening days. So is it Monday to Friday, or is it every day?
I think the assumption is that the school is open generally Monday to Friday, and the units would be used during this summer term. So it would be only when the school is open, and when the school is open, the units can only run during those hours. There wasn't a specific date, sort of like limitation to say it has to be only between those days, but it just has to be when those hours if the school is open.
Okay, can I propose then that we firm that text up so that it's so that it is clear and not open to other interpretations, please?
I'd just like to come back on that. I think the proposal for the actual condition wording was for it to be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. end. The conversations that NIA has had with the school is clearly the intention would be to use these during hotter days, so it's very unlikely that they'll be used during winter. But that's not intended to be part of the condition. It's also not intended for it to be Monday to Friday, and the reason for that is because we would like this school to be used outside of Monday to Friday for community uses, for other sort of school events if they were to open during the weekend, and if there were hotter days over the weekend, we wouldn't want them to not be able to use certain classrooms because they haven't got these they haven't got the ability to use those air conditioning units. So the recommendation from our environmental protection colleagues was that 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. would adequately protect immunity. That's what our condition currently is worded as. It's up to you whether you'd like to make any changes to that. Okay.
Thank you for that explanation. Actually, no, I will withdraw that proposal based on your explanation.
Councillor Price.
Yeah, obviously, so I'm confused now, but it sounded like you now have a blank just 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. any day of the week on any given day of the year. Earlier I was hearing that it was limited to the summer term, so clarity on that would be useful. My proposal would be that you actually do it based on a certain temperature threshold. We live in an erratic climate now. Different days are going to create different extreme temperatures, and actually you can't make it a certain given period of the year in a calendar. You've got to do it based on temperature, I think. So be interested in officers' views on that.
So what Nia was talking about it being during the summer and being during school times, term times, was conversations that Nia had with the applicant about their intention to use the units.
Mm-hmm.
The condition that we're proposing, do correct me if I'm wrong. The condition that we're proposing is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at whatever time, on whatever days the school needs to use them. In reality, that is going to be controlled by temperature, but I don't think it would be reasonable for us to restrict it to certain temperatures, because we don't know what the conditions within that particular classroom would be on any particular day of the year.
Okay, Councillor Stooley.
We've drifted slightly into discussion here, but I would suggest that given the cost of energy at the moment, there'll be a certain natural restriction on the school for how they use this facility, should it be given the go-ahead.
Well, let's say charge Councillor Price a bit more money for his kids being there. Okay, we'll move on now. The recommendation is to approve, and I'll move that. Seconded. Thank you, Councillor Sands. We now move on to discussion. Any discussion, anyone? No? Two people, Councillor Sands and then Councillor Stooley.
Me.
Yep.
Gosh. Well, since we haven't had any complaints or any negative feedback from the ones that we approved before, I'm sort of struggling to see what the issue is here. I mean, there haven't been any problems, and we're just putting in a few more. And trust me, teaching in a hot, stuffy classroom is not a lot of fun, so yeah, I'm all for it.
Okay, Councillor Stooley.
Yes, I think the lack of complaints to the previous units and the restrictions that we put in place make this acceptable on the whole.
Okay, I'll move the bill. There's two lots. here, let's councillor Price want to say something.
Well, yeah, for discussion purposes, just the ignorance of why are we installing energy-rich air conditioning units? And just to explain, what's wrong with opening the windows?
Well, we can't discuss, well, we can discuss that here, but it's not part of our
So there is a
remit.
mitigation to the temperature outside of the installation, which is to just open the windows, isn't it? I don't know. So you know, before we kind of commission more environmentally damaging products here in the city centre, perhaps worth considering it. Are there alternatives to this? I don't know. That's for the discussion.
Chair.
Yes, David.
Whilst there may be alternative ways of doing it, the Planning Applications Committee has to determine the application that's in front of them for the way that the applicant has chosen to do it.
Thank you. Right, recommendation is to approve, and I didn't see any hands up until that last question came in. All those in favour of the recommendation to approve, please show.
It is a recorded vote, so please keep your hands up and obviously there's some difficulties. So I will start with Councillor Driver and Councillor Sands, Mike Sands, and I'll just do this side of the room first. So it's Calvert.
Yes.
Sorry, I can't see hands.
Yeah.
Oh, all three hands, thank you. And Young, thank you. Councillor Champion, Councillor Lubbock, Councillor Sue Sands, Councillor Peake, Councillor Princely, and Councillor Stutley.
Anyone against? Abstentions? Thank you.
Abstention, Councillor Price.
So that's been approved. We have got something else to approve with the what do you call it? The second part.
The listed buildings.
The listed building consent, that was the one I was thinking of. It's been moved and seconded up to approve that. All those in favour, please show.
So what we're discussing?
Listed building.
You've discussed both of them, I assume.
Thank you.
So it's the same
Are you-
voting as the previous one,
I
yeah?
don't understand.
So let's explain.
You might explain
Yeah,
that.
so there are two applications under
Wonderful.
consideration. One is for full planning permission for the air conditioning units. Because this is a listed building, it also requires listed building consent. They have their two separate decisions. So the vote needs to be taken separately for each one.
So apologies members, can we just, quick show of hands for those voting in favour? That's the same as for the previous one, thank you.
Yeah, against or abstention?
Abstain.